Hello, hello, and welcome to the podcast. This is Creating Confident Communication with your host, Talia Riley. And today it is just me, Talia Riley, and I am here to talk about creating confident communication with yourself. And so I love to get on and be able to do a recording of this podcast and just kind of reframe the last couple guests that we've had on and what we got and what we gleaned from what they spoke about. And then moving forward about how I can help you in being able to create confident communication in your life. So today I wanted to share some kind of vulnerable things that came up about creating confident communication with yourself. I would love to start out by asking, have any of you ever questioned your self-worth or the words that you say or what you have to bring and offer to this world, and asked yourself the question ever in your mind, am I enough? Or how can I ever feel enough? Well, today this is a big question about how we communicate with ourselves confidently. And many people that I coach and that I speak to have told me and opened up that there's a lot of negative self-talk within ourselves, that sometimes we would never speak to a stranger the way we would speak to ourselves. And I ask you the question, is that true for you? Do you feel like some of the things that you say in your own head or your own mind or your own thoughts that you'd ever even say out loud to another person? Well, for me, I've had some big things show up. Even the fact that on this podcast, I kept thinking to myself, well, people want to hear all of my guests, my awesome high profile guests, more than they want to hear me, because they are more credible, or they're more worthy than I am. And you know what I realized? I was going through the statistics in my podcast because I can see where people view from different parts of the world and so forth. And I realized that some of the podcasts that I've done completely on my own had the most watched and the most views from all around. And I thought that's absolutely crazy because some of the people that I've worked with have so many followers and things. And believe me, there was lots of interaction with theirs, but people actually wanted to hear the things that I wanted to say. It wasn't just about everyone else. So I realized in this moment that having this confident communication starts with yourself and your own self-talk. I had some situations come up where I've started getting out and speaking more to different businesses about confident communication. And I'm so excited to say out loud to people here on this podcast that I love to work with students and I love to work with staff. So being able to speak in schools is a joy for me because of what I have to share about helping kids soar to confidence. And that starts with the students also. It starts with being able to have teachers that believe in their students and build them up, because you have no idea the influence that a teacher can make with confident communication. I invite you to watch the new show that came out a little while ago. It's on Amazon Prime, and it is called A Million Miles Away. And it is the show about the astronaut. I don't know if any of you guys have seen it. If you had, you can like nod, even though I can't see you. Seriously, absolutely loved this show. I felt like at the time that I saw it, I could see it 50 times and never get sick of it. I'll sum up just bits and pieces about some immigrants that came over to the United States to help them pick corn all in the farming area, and they were children. And after they were done getting up at 4 in the morning, they would go to school, sometimes so tired they would fall asleep. But there was one teacher in particular that asked these students the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? And this little boy, he said, well, tell me more about the stars. Tell me more. He was always curious. He asked his parents, and they'd say, that's a question for your teachers. Ask your teacher. And one day he asked her, and she told him about the stars and about the moon and about outer space. And he wrote her this most beautiful picture and said, I did my homework assignment. And it was a picture of corn that was shaped like a rocket with the husk on the bottom, which was like the rocket ship. And he said, I want to be an astronaut. And she looked at him in the eyes and she said, and I believe in you and I know that you will, no matter what it takes. Well, this little boy goes on in this show doing every life decision in the hopes of becoming an astronaut, and the NSA, how do you say it? NASA, program, the NASA program. And what ended up happening was he kept getting denied. And all of these things kept happening, but he kept knowing that somehow, someday, no matter what it took, no matter how many life skills he was to attain, running a marathon, speaking different languages, diving, flight school. Anyway, I'm not going to give it all away, but it is this beautiful, empowering story about a teacher. The teacher looking at him in the eyes and said, I always knew that you could do this. Because sometimes other people building us up with this confidence and this communication can form thoughts and beliefs about us, ourselves, throughout our life. But what was beautiful and empowering about this show is that he believed. He believed through the influence of someone else saying, you can do this. I believe in you. He believed in himself. And kept going and going and going. So I encourage you to watch the show, but it all comes back to confidently communicating and how you do that within yourself and your own thoughts. Like I said, I work with a lot of people that are amazing speakers. And we don't talk a lot about, like, especially with some of the associations I'm in, what we get paid, but some are known for what their fees are. I've had even people on these podcasts that have made $30,000 or $40,000, some even $50,000 a speech. And that's a speech. And I think of that and think, how am I around people like this that can do this? And somehow there's been this thought. And again, in this podcast today, I'm getting super vulnerable and real with you. I really don't always do this, but today is the day that I want to show up and help you with confident communication with yourself. But I see these people and I see what they've been able to accomplish, what their fees are. And I've been asked just recently, Neil, what are your fees? And I've literally had to gear myself up, like shaking, to tell people that I am paid $3,000 to speak or more. And people look at me and say, Talia, that you can't even, they won't take you seriously in business if you don't at least charge $3,000. Because the thing is, they want it in business, they want to be able to pay, like, you know, speakers to come in and share. And it's what I realized through doing a lot of writing was it came down to my own beliefs about myself. Feeling like maybe my words and my books would be rejected, or maybe people wouldn't like me on stage. It's like that whole disease to please someone that I I wanted people to like me, and maybe I'm not for all people. And what if they don't want to hear what I have to write? And what other words come to your mind when you're thinking all these things in your head that are trying to create truth? What message do I have? Why am I considered valuable? All of these questions. And so I ask you these questions in your mind. Have you ever self-doubted yourself? And have you ever had feelings that have made you doubt who you are or what you're trying to become? And so, what I want to say with this is when this all happened just this last week, I realized that it was just a perception I had about feeling abandoned, about feeling like people aren't going to, like me. What I realized, this isn't about me. This has never been about me and my speaking journey. This is about the mission that I feel called to do in my life, which is share my stories. Share my stories with people in vulnerability, in authenticity, in hopes to be able to reach others that are struggling with something similar that I've worked through. This isn't about me comparing myself to other speakers. This isn't about me worrying about what they get paid and what I don't. And I found myself, and I don't know if any of you as either speakers or parents or friends or anyone, always trying to level up to get more coaching or get more, experience in school or, more training so that you can finally be enough. But when you feel in your core that you're not worthy or that you're not enough or that you're going to be rejected, that will come out of you. I mean, people will sense that about you. The inner work with confident communication within yourself begins within your heart, within your soul. I want to give you the thought today that came to me about having this mirror. My daughter, who's 4 years old, was listening to Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And I remember the part about the mirror that got really spooky. It was like, mirror, mirror on the wall. And who's the fairest? And the person responds, Snow White is still the fairest person. And so I'm laughing as I'm listening to this analogy and thinking about my own mirror of truth. And I thought to myself, if I were to look in a mirror that was based on complete truth, that was never false, that was never going to feed me negative things, what would I see when I looked in that mirror? How would I talk to myself with my own personal communication? Would I be confident? Would you be confident? If you were looking in a mirror of truth and you knew that what you saw on the other side of this mirror was a reflection of who you really are, do you think you'd see yourself different through the eyes of the mirror, through the eyes of others, and through the eyes of God? What if you could look in that mirror and say, I am an excellent mother and wife. I am a good enough speaker exactly how I am. I'm authentic. I'm real. I don't have to compare myself to other people. I'm doing my best every day. What if you could see yourself in a mirror that could never lie to you? How would that change your perception of who you really are and who you really want to become in your life? If it couldn't lie to you, if you couldn't hear negative words come to you all the time about being overweight or not fit, but this mirror was a reflection of only truth. It only could look at you and tell you your strengths and your qualities, and it could never lie. You would look at yourself as as only truth. So I want to invite you to do this really fast. So one of the things that I want to teach you about having confident communication and invite you this next week is every time you hear a negative thought or a word about yourself or something that comes up, what you're going to do is you are going to move forward in trying to create a different thought about you. Now, what would someone else say about you? What would other people that see the truth in who you are, what would they say? And maybe it's even something to go and ask a few people around you that see you for who you really are to share with you, to say, who do you think I really am? How would that change? How would that change your thought process? So as I was moving forward today, I wanted to share with you a story. And I shared this today with my coaching group, and it was really powerful. And I know there's different people that have heard it different ways, but I got to hear it in a way that talked about having it's called the precious stone. And so here's how it goes. There was a father and a son that were there together, and the father said to the son, I found this stone for you. I found this stone. And the son says, oh, Dad, it's so beautiful. And he says, I want you to go and try something with me. I want you to go walk into the local market and hold up this stone. And if anyone comes to you and asks you about this stone, you're going to look at them in the eyes. And you don't say the price, but you're just going to hold up two fingers. So and not say another word. And if they want to buy it, you just tell me what they say and come home. And I'll be waiting here for you. So the little boy goes and he starts to do this, and he's walking around, and a woman comes up to him and says, oh, that stone is so beautiful. Would you sell that stone? How much is the stone? And the little boy raises up his fingers. And she says, $2? And the boy doesn't say a word. And she goes, $2? I'll take it. I love this stone. And he walks over and he says, Dad, someone wants to buy this from me for $2. And I'm so excited. And then the dad encourages this son to go into another place that's a little bit more sophisticated and ancient, and it has like architects and all kinds of things in there and artwork. And he goes in and he's holding this stone, and someone comes up to him and says, how much for the stone? And the little boy raises up his fingers, just two fingers. And the man says, $200? I'll take it. And he goes to grab the stone, and the boy goes out and runs to his dad and says, Dad, they want to pay me $200 for this stone. I can't believe it. And the dad says, well, I want to tell you just one more thing that you could try. Let's go take it over to the special stone and jewelry shop, and let's see what they say. So he goes over to the shop, and someone comes up to him and says, oh, that is the most beautiful, rare, precious stone I've ever seen. How much for the stone? And the little boy holds up two fingers. The person in charge says, $200,000? I'll take it. I'll take it. And the little boy's eyes got so huge, and he runs to his dad and says, Daddy, they want to pay me $200,000 for the stone. And the dad looks down eye to eye and sits with him and says, son, no, I want you to remember the value about you being a precious stone. That it doesn't matter what other people place their value, if it's $2 or $200 or $200,000, that the value is from within you, that you are the precious stone. And your value can be unlimited and never ending and amazing because you are that stone, that precious stone. And what other people try to place on you as their thoughts or their values or their opinions, they're not ever going to matter like they'll matter from within, what you say to yourself. I thought this was the most beautiful story to talk about because it's a reflection of that confident communication within yourself. How can you speak out confidently? How can you be an example to those around you by speaking positive words about yourself and about your life? I encourage you at this time to move forward in choosing some confident words that help you build and become who you're supposed to be. And I encourage you at this time, at this point in your life, that you can do anything if you believe in yourself, that you can create confident communication in yourself, and that this week particularly, that if you can look in that mirror that will never lie to you, that will never tell you wrong, that you can do anything if you believe that you're that precious stone. I invite you to consider this, and I say to you at this time that if I can choose to have confident communication in my life, then I know and I believe that you can too. So I'll see you next week. Please share this podcast with others. If you're looking to soar in 2024, my group coaching program is completely open, and I am open and ready to come and speak to your business or your school. Please contact me. I love you, and I believe in you. Talia, signing off.